Hello, virtual educators. This is Kellie Alston, and in this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to establish a strong educator presence. All right, the first tip is get your mind right. Everything you do begins with your mindset. It starts with how you think, the programs that you have running in your mind. So, the first thing you have to do is get your mind right and begin to appreciate student-centered learning. So if you are one of those instructors, if you are one of those professors who likes to be at the front of the classroom, the students are writing notes, you might be just making their life difficult, they're trying to guess and figure out what's going to be on the test and all of that, I am encouraging you now to get your mind right. We have found through research, and not research that I've done, but in our field, that the lecture is the worst and the least effective way for students to learn, particularly students of lower income socioeconomic background. Do not do well with lectures, but also it's for lower level thinking. So students who are exposed to lots of lectures often are not challenged to use their higher order thinking skills. Why? Because they're sitting there like a sponge while you do all of the talking. And we do not learn just from talking. We learn from our experiences. We learn from doing. You've been a child before, you know your parents can tell you something, tell you something, tell you something until you touch that stove yourself and your hand burns and you feel that heat. You don't believe that the stove is hot. You don't believe that fire burns. So your parents can try to teach you things, and some things you will listen to them, but some things you have to learn on your own. And it's the same way in our higher education classrooms. We've got to develop our classrooms so that students participate in activities where they have ownership of their learning. And thankfully you have enrolled in this course because now you have a tool that helps you to do that. Denounce that stage on the stage mentality. Embrace your new role as a coach, a facilitator, and a guide. I can promise you that if you trust the system, this particular one, LTVD, that I have laid out for you, if you trust the system, at the end of the semester, the session, whatever they call it at your school, your students will be just overwhelmed in a good way about what they learned and how they grew, not just academically, but personally, because you allowed them to be in the forefront while you guided them through the process. All right, step number 2, create an engaging instructor tab. I'm taking classes online right now for my PhD, and I can tell you it just really irks my nerves because I'm so interactive with my students online. When I go to a professor's tab and they just have so and so has a bachelor's from here, a master's from here, a doctorate from here, he's interested in such and such research. Really? Share your professional background. Yes, we want you to share your professional background and your qualifications so students know why they hired you and how you can be a good resource for them. But guess what? There's a question that they ask in marketing, and it's called and it is, what's in it for me? Why do I care that you have all these degrees? What difference does it make? If you are not going to get me to a transformational outcome at the end of this course, if you are not going to guide me into mastering these learning outcomes, it doesn't matter how many DDs, Dr. to EDDs, PhDs, MDs, LMNOPs that you have. Okay, you have to present yourself as a human being first. So share your personal interests, your hobbies, some of your accomplishments, some of your goals on your instructor tab. Use video to introduce yourself. Okay, definitely the millennials have grown up in a video generation, but those of you that are older, maybe in my age bracket, and those even older than that, may not have grown up with videos. It doesn't matter. It's time for us to present information in the way that our students can consume it. And also, we have students of various levels, various age groups, I should say, in distance learning. And so video is what mostly everybody is used to now. I think there's like a billion videos uploaded on YouTube per day. Okay. They told us 10 years ago that this was going to happen, that we were going to become, consumers of video. So why is your course so text driven? Ask yourself that. Get on your computer and show yourself and let your students see you and greet them and tell them something about yourself in video. All right. And also include photos of yourself or images that represent any of the things that you shared on your page, on your instructor page. Tip number 3 is respond to emails within 24 hours or less. Provide your students with superior customer service, as your students are you and your university's customers. Okay? Your students are your you and your yeah, I said that how I wanted to say it. Because without students you won't have a university. Without students you wouldn't have a job. So try not to be on this pedestal that I am the almighty expert, you shall bow down to me. Okay, you want to provide good customer service for your students. So when they email you and ask you a question, even if you're redirecting them back to the course where the answer might be, because that's what I do, respond to their emails. If they're telling you, I'm having an issue, my daughter's sick, respond to their emails. And I'm going to talk about being humanistic at the end. But, we understand we have a syllabus, we have standards, we have, the school policy and all of this, but we're teaching human beings. And I often find it interesting how some people are kinder to their pets than they are with human beings that they see every day at work, or if they're working higher ed and they work with adult students. It amazes me. And so be sure that you're providing good customer service to your students. Resist the possibility of making students feel like they're being ignored. A student emails you and it's 2, 3, 4 days and you haven't responded. That is absolutely unacceptable. Okay? And do not take things personal. People are going through things. This is the 21st century. A lot of times our students have bitten more than they can chew. They have enrolled in 4 or 5 classes. They have 2 and 3 children, or they just got married, or they work full time, and they have registered for too many courses, and so they can't give their undivided attention as they should to all matters, or they haven't mastered time management. Well, that's what you're there to instruct them academically, but also you can provide help in that area as well, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. So when they are chopping off at you, first of all, don't respond to the email right away, because you might be like, no she didn't. you know don't respond right away. My chair one time told us to read the email 3 times before you respond. Read it, walk away from it, go do something else, read it again, walk away from the third time, craft your response, because then you've calmed down and you've processed what they've said. And oftentimes you cannot interpret what a person is saying in text. You can't interpret the tone and their meaning. So oftentimes, just remember, students are going through a lot. They may be having personal issues. They may have mental health issues. A lot of things can be going on with them. They can have death in their families. They could be in abusive relationships. They're human beings. So don't, as long as you are doing the best that you can, don't take it personal. Use active listening skills. I hear you saying that you feel that I am not providing such and such and such. I would love to support you and blah, 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 blah. Come across as a person who is understanding. As a teacher, you're a counselor, therapist. You're a coach, you're a facilitator, you're all of that. And sometimes I think in higher ed, we feel like they're adults, I'm not doing all of that. And that's why sometimes our enrollments are low at universities and different programs. It's not because our programs aren't good, but our customer service is not good. So just make sure that you respond to your students' emails and let them know that you are there for them. All right. Tip number 4, send purposeful and personal emails. Show your students that you notice them and you care about them by contacting them when they are absent from class. Like when we are having the LTVD, and I mentioned this in another video, and I see that Kelly is not in her group, I immediately send an email and say, "Hi Kelly, class began at 6:30. I noticed that you're not here. I hope that you're on your way. We miss you and look forward to your input." Students love it. Contacting them when they do not submit an assignment. My assignments are due at 11 p.m. and not 11:59, but 11 p.m. Yours may be due at 11:59, but so at 11 o'clock, I will send them an email letting them know that. I'll say something like the course report reveals that you did not submit your assignment that was due at such and such a time. I might tell them they have some grace period. They have until noon the next day, or they have until 6 the next day to get it submitted without any points deducted. Because sometimes students might just forget that they have an assignment, or something came up that was unexpected, and so to let them know that, yes, I did notice that you didn't submit the assignment. You might be saying, well, they're adults. I'm not going to be doing all of that. I am trying to tell you what I know. I know I've been teaching online for almost 15 years at the time of this recording. And I am telling you that all of these things help your students feel good about you and also good about the class. And when they see your name on the class register, on the schedule, they might say, well, she works us to death, but I love her class, because you give them attention, and they're not just a number. This is not just the business of adding a bunch of students to a course so that we can make money as an institution, that you actually care about them as a human being. So take the extra time, contact them when they're absent, contact them when they don't submit an assignment, respond to them in a humanistic manner. And when I say humanistic, I'm talking about interested in their welfare. Congratulate them on doing well on an assignment or a discussion session. And let me pull this down so you can see this. Acknowledge their accomplishments or milestones outside of the classroom. For example, they might have been inducted into the Honor Society, or they might have just had a baby. I've had so many students that had a baby. Let me tell you, I had a student that was in one of my courses where we do the LTVD, and she was on the delivery table with her laptop. Do you hear what I'm telling you? She was on the delivery table with her laptop. She said she did not want to miss class, and the baby was not coming yet. And and I guess I shouldn't say the delivery table. She was in the process of going into labor. But meanwhile, she had to go while we were in class. She said, I'm going to the delivery table. That's really what happened. And we were just cracking up the group. We were like, girl, you are crazy. We cannot. I said, you did not have to come to class while you're having contractions. You're in the hospital getting ready to have your baby. But she wanted to be in class. So, congratulate them on having their babies, getting married. I've had students to be on their honeymoon right when the class enrolled. Or they might be in a summer school class and they enrolled and they were on their honeymoon the first week. I mean, just absolutely amazing things that happen online. They might get a promotion from work. They might share with you that, hey, I'm transitioning to this field of education, or whatever field that you're teaching them, and they are moving from there. I had a student that she's in another field, but always wanted to be an educator, so she was transitioning, and she was talking about how they're laying off people, and so she was glad she was already preparing herself. Passing a test that they thought they might fail. Let's say you talk to a student and they said, I just don't do well on tests, and then they ace the test, or they pass the test with a B or a C, or whatever the accomplishment is. Send them an email about that. All right, remind students about what's due. Hold on a second. Oh, I didn't read you I'm so sorry. I didn't read you the tip number 5 is send weekly announcements. Remind students about what's due that week on Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning, I have my announcements scheduled to go out. Okay, you can schedule your announcements in Blackboard, and I'm sure you can in any LMS that you use. So I have the announcements for my 4 courses that I teach. Each semester I have my announcements scheduled on that. So I might do it on Saturday night, and I already have them scheduled, and they go out, and it says this week in our course, and I always use a graphic to get their attention. And then the announcement goes into what we have due. Completing assignments and accessing resources or utilizing campus programs for support. I might review some classroom protocol or procedures. So the first 3 or 4 weeks of the LTVD, I might be consistently reminding them the first person should be posting the group roles when you enter the session. Be sure that you're in class 10 to 15 minutes before we begin. Those kinds of things, just reminders. You don't have to do that the whole semester or the whole session, but those first 3 or 4 weeks, remember, that's the boot camp. So make sure that you are ever present help for your students by sending them weekly announcements so that they know that you are still there on the other side of the screen. All right, tip number 6, set up an online appointment book. An online appointment book, like I said, I take classes online right now. And this is something that my professors do not do. And so we have to go through the texting, or they call me, I miss their call, I call them, they miss my call, emailing back and forth, what's a good time for me to call you. If you put your office hours on your instructor tab and you say I'm available from 11 to 2 Monday through Friday, well, I might call you at 11:30 and you're talking to somebody else, or you had an appointment that day that you forgot about, or anything came up, and so we're going all this back and forth. I cannot stand it. Plus, I teach online myself, so I'm very busy. I'm a single mother right now and I have a very active 7th grader right now at the time of this recording. So I have busy things that I'm doing, and so I don't have time to keep trying to call you 55,000 times. Okay, so when you have an online appointment book, and there's several free ones that you can get, the two that I have mentioned in this slide are not free, but you can set up a free appointment book where it allows students to set up an appointment based on your availability. So you will set up the times that you're available. You can go in and notate holidays, or days that you don't accept appointments. Just like if you were signing up for an appointment, a hair appointment, you might do that through an online appointment book. Show your professionalism and your value of your time and your students' time by having an appointment book, and they can sign up 24/7. They might wake up at 2 in the morning and be like, I need to talk to Dr. Jones, so let me see what she has available, and they can click on it, and then they can set up their appointment. All right, it eliminates the back and forth of emails, like I just said. It shows students that although they are distant, you are still accessible. Remember, without them, there is no you teaching. Without students, there's nobody for you to teach. So let them know that you're not too busy for them, because if you're too busy, you need to stop being a teacher. You need to stop being a higher education professional if you're that busy. Okay. And then acuityscheduling.com, I have been using I think this is my 3rd year, but I used Gymbook for about since it started. I think Gymbook started, may have been 9 or 10 years ago that I started using gymbook.com. It's much more expensive. It was like they went up. When I first started, it was free for a year because they had just started. Then it was $19.99. Then it went up to like 30 something dollars a month, and I paid for it myself. I was like, no sir, no ma'am, and no thank you. So I went to Acuity Scheduling, which only cost I think it's $10 a month is what I pay for Acuity Scheduling. And so I would encourage you to set up an online appointment book, most definitely. All right, create a mini podcast or video series. I know you're like, ooh, this is a lot. Spend 5 to 10 minutes talking to your students about things related to their study habits, their mindset, resources that they can use, resources on campus programs, things that you can say to inspire them, organizational skills, their health and wellness. A lot of students are not getting enough sleep. You can share some information about the importance of sleep and exercise, time management, personal development. I do something called the instructor tip of the week. And so some tips might just be 2 minutes long. I have one tip that's actually about 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it's a for real podcast where I'm talking to them about how to break down an assignment. I have a couple of them that are about over 10 minutes long, because I'm really talking to them about. And let me tell you what I do for extra credit. I just started this. For extra credit, they can do an instructor tip journal where I have a little table that they create, that they fill out or they create, and they tell, they list the instructor tip number one, tell what it was about, and then how they applied it or how they can apply it. And so I give them 25 points of extra credit for doing that. So, that lets me know that a lot of students are actually listening to it. And I will tell you this past semester, just in my extra credit is due the November 30th in the fall and April 30th in the spring. And so, I give my students a lot of different opportunities to earn extra credit. Nothing that's going to overwork me though, but they have a whole extra credit page because sometimes things happen. And but anyway, with the podcast, I had so many students that said, "Thank you so much." I also have some affirmations, student affirmations on my course under the instructor tab that they can listen to week after week. I don't post those like I used to every week, but I just have a folder where they can go, and I tell them, at the beginning of the course, print those out, put them on your wall, put them on your desk, put them in a prominent place so that when your mindset tries to get you to, oh, I'm gonna drop this class or this is too hard, that you can condition your mind and program your mind so that you can accomplish that which you've set out to do with your education. So these are the things of the future. Multimedia is the way. We're already here. It's not going to change. Incorporating video or audio podcasts into your course can do nothing but benefit you and your students. And I can tell you, a lot of my students will say, "Oh, this motivated me so much," or "I was struggling with organizational skills. Thank you so much." Okay, so I think I said enough about that. I get so excited, as you can see. All right, step number 8, attend class. One of my favorite articles that I shared with you, and let me scroll down so you can see. Oh no, wait, let's go back. I'm trying to, pardon me, I'm trying to not cut off this reference. There we go. Okay, so one of my favorite articles is a literature review done by Peterson, Nordvig, and Bale. And when I tell you I use this reference so much in the courses that I'm taking, it just always seems to come up because the literature review was just so comprehensive. And one of the quotes I wanted to pull out to you for this tip, which is to attend class, and it says synchronous online classroom sessions involving interaction and discussion can contribute positively to students' feelings of connectedness to their educator and fellow peers. Okay, and so I want you to understand that although the LTVD allows students to own their learning and to conduct all 8 steps without interference from you, it is not an automated system. It is designed to provide an active, deep, cooperative learning experience for students, which is still facilitated by you. Okay, so you want to be in class because you cannot get to know your students if you're not monitoring their participation. That's how you know who's on the other side of that screen, because you actually hear their voices. And if you want them to use their, I don't advise you to use their webcams, but if you want them to use their webcams, you can see them. You can only make the most of those teachable moments if you're actually there to teach them. So don't make them feel like that, that you are just throwing up the opening up the session, you click on as the moderator, and then you go fry chicken or go eat dinner or go watch Netflix or something while they're in class. You don't want them to have that feel that you're not present. So you want to be present. You want to say, "Oh, you all did such a good job on the main message." You want to give them compliments. You want to encourage them. You want to be in class because you are a teacher at heart. Hopefully, if you are teaching, that's what you're passionate about doing. And teaching online is not a pass to be dismissive and remove yourself from the learning and teaching experience. All right, number 9, hold discovery sessions. Okay. When you hold a discovery session, you encourage your students to set up 15-minute appointments with you. I was going to say opportunities, but appointments with you at the onset of the course. And what I do when students set up this appointment with me, I don't tell them this, but I give them 25 points of extra credit after we get off the phone. I let them know that they've earned extra credit because I don't want them to set up the appointment with me because I'm offering them something. I want them to do it because they want to do it. I'm telling you, it is one of the best things I've ever incorporated in my courses because you get to learn about their major and their aspirations, why they're taking that class or why they want to be in whatever field that you're in. Mine is education, why they want to be teachers. You answer questions they may have about the course or your expectations. You can offer them tips for completing the course successfully, and you can just ultimately gain a better understanding of how they learn and what they expect from you. So if they tell you that they enjoy videos or they like instructional or tutorial type videos, or they tell you that they're scared to death of taking online assessments, you can comfort them and you can offer them strategies and really get to know them. I learned that one of my students this past spring has this phenomenal side business where she provides childcare at major events, and her business is doing so well. She's graduating, or she graduated now, but her business is doing so well that she has contracts in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and Durham, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, with major organizations, so that when they have functions, their employees and their members can still bring their children and be rest assured that they have a safe place for their children to be while the event is going on. I thought that was amazing. I wouldn't have known anything about that had we not had a discovery session. So get to know your students. Remember, you are dealing with humans. These are not robots. These are humans with real issues, and you yourself are a human with real issues. I remember at the beginning of this semester, I had a high blood pressure scare on January the 4th of 2019, and I've never had an issue with high blood pressure, but I hadn't been taking care of myself, being in graduate school and teaching 4 courses online and being a single mother and all of this. I was getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I wasn't exercising, barely eating right, not eating unhealthy foods, but barely eating, and just, not taking care of myself like I should have. And had it not been for the time that I spend in meditation and prayer and those things that deal with my spiritual self, and I don't know how I would have made it, this far. But my body said, no, ma'am. And I had to let my students know about it. And I started the semester sending them an email about that and telling them, take care of yourself. None of this is worth it if you're not here. So take care of your body and spend time with your family and friends. And, yes, you have a goal of getting your education, but you have to, know how to fit it properly within your life without it completely consuming you. And so, my last tip for you is to be concerned about the human welfare of your students. Show devotion to the welfare of your students, point blank and the period. So I hope that these 10 tips have helped you. I hope that something that I said struck a chord with you, and that it makes a change in you as to how you deliver your courses and how you establish a strong presence in your online course. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.